Alright guys, so today I wanted to go ahead and do this video because it's 2025, food prices are at an all-time high. I know a lot of us are just looking for practical ways to save some money and have a little extra food laying around because you never know what happens. And some of these methods, well, all these methods that I'm going to be showing you today are going to be good for all those type of situations as far as like saving money, being able to store your food better and safer in smaller environments, as well as having food already set aside that's ready to be grabbed, stuff that's lightweight just in case there's an emergency where you have to evacuate your home. So those are some of the reasons why I wanted to do this video, because a lot of stuff is happening right now as far as fires, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, just uncertainties with jobs and just food prices. So I'm going to go over a couple steps that you can use to put a little food back and show you how to save some money in the long run. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start off with this. As you can see, I have some dehydrated ground beef here, and I dehydrated this yesterday, and I have a video where I dehydrated ground beef, and you can go ahead and check that. I'll link that in the description box so you can know how we even got to this level. So right here inside this bowl right here, this is 3 pounds of dehydrated ground beef. So this was cooked and dehydrated for about 6 hours, and this is how it looks after it's dehydrated. So again, I have a link to that video that I made on dehydrator in the description box below. So the first step that we're going to start with storing this meat, we're going to go with a regular old clear vacuum sealer bag, right? So this is a vacuum sealer bag. One side is sealed. As you can see, it's plastic welded at the bottom here. And the other end is open. That's where you pour your contents in. That's where we're going to be pouring this ground beef into. Right behind it, I have a vacuum sealer. This is the NutriChef vacuum sealer. I've been using this for about 3 years now, maybe even 4. I've been using this for a while, and I've used it a good amount of times, and it's never let me down. And this is a nice budget-friendly option as well, because all this stuff that I'm going to be showing y'all, I don't have a ton of money, so I just want to show y'all different ways to get the job done, and you don't have to break the bank, and certain things aren't as expensive as we would assume they are. So today we're going to be using the NutriChef with the dehydrated meat and a regular vacuum sealer plastic bag. So first step, you want to go ahead and get this filled up with whatever contents you're going to put in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use this spoon just so I can scoop it and just put it in the bag. Sometimes I use a food scale, but I'm just doing this just to show y'all today, so I'm not going to bring out the food scale. But if you want to, just to measure out X amount of pounds or whatever weight you want, that's a good way to do it as well, so you can know what you got going on. So I'm just going to go ahead and scoop that, get the bag here, put some in, a little bit more, that in, and I'm going to do one more and put that in. So there we have it. One side is a little bit more textured than the other, so I like to use this side face up. So you got the ground beef in there. Next, you want to have something to keep it fresh. So it's already dehydrated, so I've already taken the moisture out of it. But also to keep it fresh, I'm pretty sure y'all have seen these things when you buy clothes and shoe boxes, or when you buy clothes and shoes and you see them in your shoe boxes and stuff. But you have your deodorizer, or I'm sorry, the deoxidizer, right? And these are those, sometimes they come like silica gel packs, but this is the food grade ones. And you use this to keep the food fresh. I'm gonna give y'all a little tip here. So the ones that I buy, they come in these individual packages, in a big package with tons of these individual packages. If you see this little circle right here, this lets you know what your air level's like. So when this is vacuum sealed, it's gonna be, these come vacuum sealed, right? So when they come brand new in the packages, they're gonna be something like this color. They're gonna be pink. That's letting you know that there's no air that got to these yet. Once you open them, they're gonna be this bluish purplish color, and within a matter of seconds you can see it turn from pink to purple. So these have already been opened, obviously, but I just opened them, so I'm still gonna go ahead and use them. So I went ahead and took one out, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it inside that bag. So when you do put your deoxidizer inside the bag, I try to put it like in the center of the stuff, not all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. You know, like when you buy beef jerky, you'll have these little things in there. So it's kind of like that. You just imitate what the big guys do, right? So I got it right there. And sometimes, as you can see, like how this bag isn't full at all. A lot of times with these small ones, you can just cut your vacuum seal bag down. But when you cut it down, you want to make sure you have enough space. That way, when you put it inside the vacuum sealer, it can still have something to grab onto. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to leave this hole, leave the bag hole. So now I'm going to go ahead and get ready to put this in the vacuum sealer. So here on the vacuum sealer, you have a stop button. Oh, sorry if there's a glare. You have your different modes. You have food, seal, and vacuum seal. So I have mine preset to normal and for dry foods. If you're having liquids, you can do it differently with the liquids. And that's what you would put on moist, right? You don't want to be sucking up bags of water with this thing. You might damage it. So I have it on normal for the strength of it, and I have it on dry. So when we do get ready to use this, all it has to do is hit vacuum seal. That's going to vacuum it and seal it, which is why it says vac seal. If you want to just seal something, you just click on seal and you'll just seal it. So we're going to go ahead and get this put in. And again, like I usually have these a little fuller. So you're just going to see this for right now, just for the sake of the video. So you want to open your unit. And inside here, you got this, oh, sorry about that. Inside here, you got this tray. You have like a piece of rubber right here, and around the sides is rubber right here. This hole right here is the hole where the air gets sucked out of your packaging. So you want to make sure, let's see, that you get your bag inside this area right here. That way the vacuum can do its thing. So I usually just set it like this, which is around halfway on there. You don't want to have it over it. You don't want to have it under it. You want to have it where it's inside that tray, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and get that right there, dead in the center. I'm gonna close this, and you should hear a click. You want to push this side down at the same time, and you'll hear a click. So once you hear that click, you know you're good. So the next step to a vacuum sealing it is, like I said, you just want to hit vac seal if you have it already set up like that. So this has a ton of air in it. I'm going to go ahead and put this back so y'all can see it. And all right, so this has air in it. So I'm gonna hit vac seal and y'all gonna see this get sealed. It doesn't take a long time. And it's getting all the air out of it. And it knows when the air is taken out, and it's going through the sealing process now. And it doesn't take very long because it heats up real quick and seals this plastic. You know how like a welder can weld the ends of metal and all type of different things that are metal. See those welds on the end? This does the same thing, but just with plastic and heat. And it heats up the plastic and seals it. So on each side of this unit, you have these little buttons right here. One on the right and one on the left. That's how you release the unit. You just press those at the same time, pops up. You can lift the top off, and as you can see, you got your weld line right there, or your seal line. Sometimes when you take it off, it's still slightly warm, but not hot enough to burn you or anything. But as you can see, that guy is sealed. There's no air in there. We have our deoxidizer, and that thing's solid. This weighs practically nothing, but this is like a pound of ground beef. Just by me looking at it and eyeballing it, since I've done this quite a few times, this is about a pound of ground beef. Once you put water in this and rehydrate it, all you have to do is take this out of here, put it in a bowl of warm water or cool water. Of course, warm water is going to do it faster. You can do cool water as well, but preferably you want to use warm water. Once you put this in some warm water, just put a lid over it, a plate on top of your bowl, and just let it sit. And when you let it sit, the meat is naturally going to soak up the water again and retain that moisture. And it's going to go back to being ground beef like you just got finished cooking it. So this is an excellent way to keep your stuff safe, away from air so it can last longer, and keep it where it's packable and stackable. And you can put this in tons of different places that you normally wouldn't be able to put it. So that is a regular plastic vacuum seal bag. That's the method right there. I'll have this vacuum sealer in the description box below. All right, you guys, the next method is this Mylar bag. Anytime you see a shiny silver bag like this, that's Mylar. It's made of a different type of plastic, and it's much thicker than your regular vacuum seal bag. This is still good, but this is great. Now, the thing you want to remember with the Mylar bags, these guys are thicker, like I said. They still are sealed on one end, and as you can see, just like the regular vacuum seal bag, you have a little tear point right here. So just like you're buying something from the store, you can just tear it open once you make what you make. But these guys are thicker than those plastic ones. So sometimes, depending on which type of unit you have, I have the NutriChef here, and it doesn't do the best job at grabbing this and sealing it because it has to, these guys are so thick, so they tend to keep closed on themselves. But the plastic ones, they'll be a little bit more like that, where they're loose and open, so air can be vacuum sealed out of that and sealed. But this one likes to lay flat, so sometimes you gotta play with it. But a way around that is something that most of us probably have or can get our hands on. This is a little flat iron. This is the cheapest flat iron I could find. I think I got this from the dollar store a long time ago, or either stole it from my niece, but don't let her know. And this is just a little regular vacuum, or not vacuum sealer, a regular flat iron that you just use for hair. And with this, you can implement it with this bag. And once you get your goods in here, you just get this flat iron, cinch it down, and you just go slowly across, and it'll seal this bag just like the vacuum sealer. Because remember, this vacuum sealer is sealing stuff with heat. And what is this? This is heat. It has flat ends just like that. So all you gotta do is put that thing on there, go like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill up this bag. We're gonna try to test and see if the NutriChef can do it. And I'm gonna change it from normal mode. Well, actually, let's see. No, there's only normal in general. So I'm gonna leave it on normal and keep it on dry and see if I can vacuum seal this Mylar bag. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that. So just like the regular vacuum seal bag, we're gonna go ahead and fill this guy up. These bags come in all shapes and sizes, just like the regular ones, but I got some smaller ones here. These are smaller than my clear bags. So I'm gonna go ahead and put another bit of contents in here. All right, we got our contents in there. Next, we're gonna go ahead and try this with the vacuum sealer. So again, we're gonna open it. We're gonna put the vacuum sealer along these tracks because this is the hole where it gets vacuumed at. I'm gonna set that right there. Try to even this out a little better. I'm gonna set it there. And I'm gonna put this down. It looks like it may not work, but we're gonna find out. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and hit vacuum seal. I don't see much happening right now. So we're gonna stop that because it's trying to seal it. We're gonna unlock this. Yeah, as you can see, it didn't vacuum seal it. So what we're gonna do, let's see, I'm gonna try this again. Sometimes what you can do, you can like wrinkle up one of the sides of it so it doesn't lay too flat on itself. Then that way the air can get sucked out of it. I've used that technique before. We're gonna try that. And if that doesn't work, we're just gonna use the flat iron. Oh, almost forgot. Almost forgot, guys. We gotta put our deoxidizer in. As many times as I've done this, I still forget stuff. It'll take some getting used to, but we're all imperfect, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and again set that right there in the center. Click it down, lock it in place, and try to vacuum seal that. Once again, it doesn't look like anything's going on, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop that. And we're just gonna do it the flat iron way. So what I'll do, it's not gonna be as vacuum sealed because it's not sucking as much air out, but it's still dehydrated, right? And we still have a deoxidizer in it. So I just usually kind of fold it over, get as much air out of it. And then I go ahead and start on one end, and then I'll slowly go down. As you can see, it's sealing it. That's one end, that's the open end. I'm gonna just go all the way to the other end. As you can see, it doesn't take much time at all. And of course, I like to go back over the spots that I already hit, making sure that's a really good seal. So even though we couldn't vacuum seal this and suck all the air out like we did with the plastic, with the regular vacuum sealer, like everything in life, everything has its pros and cons. Even though we couldn't vacuum seal this, it's in a stronger bag and it's got a hotter seal on it. So this thing isn't going to fall open or tear open. So now let's go ahead and take a look at it. Still not a whole lot of air in there. Still pretty flat. And this thing is sealed. Like if you look at that, that's not going to open anytime soon. So it's still a little warm, but that's that. This guy's sealed. So that's the way that you can seal your Mylar bags if you don't have a vacuum sealer that's strong enough to do this. Again, I bought this because it was a budget vacuum sealer, and it was when I first got into all this. And I don't use a lot of these bags for the same applications anymore. I use them for different things, so I don't have to have this seal that, especially with a flat iron like I showed y'all. So that's the way how you seal the Mylar bags. All right, guys, last but certainly not least, I'm pretty sure most of us have seen food in jars more than we've seen it in vacuum seal bags and Mylar bags. So we're a little bit more familiar with this. We buy a lot of stuff in jars over Mylar bags and vacuum seal bags. So this is just a regular jar. This isn't one that's too big. Just for reference, this is my hand. I have a large hand. This is the size of the jar. It's not a huge mason jar, but this is exactly what we need. So with these jars, if you're not familiar, you have an outer ring, which you can take off. And then you have the lid. And this is what seals it. So this little orange ring around it, this is metal. And this has like a, kind of like almost a rubberized film around it. And that's so it can sit on top of this glass better and seal better. Because if you have something that's a little bit more malleable than metal, it can hold a vacuum seal a lot better, or keep air out much better than just metal on glass, right? It just makes sense. So with this, we're gonna go ahead and fill this up with our contents, which is, once again, it's the dehydrated ground beef. I'm gonna go ahead and get that filled up right now and move on to the next step. So with this, I'm doing these kind of like how I like to do my vacuum seal bags. I'll put a little in. That way I can have something at the bottom. And then once again, what's next, guys? Next is the deoxidizer. I'll go ahead and throw that in there. And again, we want to cover that up so it can be dead center of the product and get out as much moisture and do its job as easy as possible. So we're going to just fill everything else up on top of that. So let's go ahead and get this guy filled up. This may be messy. Let's see. Yeah, we're getting it. Got almost all of it. Some little bits here. And I'm gonna pour the rest of that inside the jar. All right, so the jar is almost all the way sealed up. I like to fill these up, but just once again, for the sake of the video, I just want to show y'all how this goes. I'll go ahead and get that up and clear that out of the way. So the reason why I like to fill this up a little bit more is because, of course, you have more air that can be held right here. So the more contents, the less room air has to fill your jar. But again, we're going to be vacuum sealing this, so I'm not too worried about it. So next, what you want to do is with this lid that I told y'all about and this little seal, you can put this on just like how it is and then put your sealer on top of it. But what you want to do is you want to warm this up. Now this guy right here, this is a sealer. At the top it has a little USB, what's that, USB-C area, and it comes with its own cord, and it has a power button. That's the only buttons on this thing. So this is really, or this is the only button on this thing, sorry about that. So if you turn it on, it immediately starts using the vacuum function, and it starts counting up how long it's been vacuuming. If you turn it off, it just stops, and it shows you the percentage of how much battery's left on this thing. And even though it just went down a percentage, this thing holds a charge very well. So you don't have to worry about always having to charge it. You can charge it, use it a couple times, let it sit, or you can keep it on charge. But I just used this a couple days ago, so that's why it's on 70 right now. But again, these hold their charge very well. And this is a electric mason jar vacuum sealer. Like all the items in all my videos, I'm going to have this in the description box below, because I didn't even know this existed, but I just got into jarring like last year. And once I did some research, I found out about these jar sealers. And I was like, yeah, I gotta have that. So at the bottom, it has a rubber ring around it. That way, let me just move this for right now. That way it can just go on, and then you push it down and it just stays on there. And that rubber seal holds your jar really good. So this is the size for a smaller jar. Now, if you have the bigger mason jars, like sometimes how you find when you buy pickles, you can just twist this, take it off, and now you have the same thing. You have another rubber seal going around it, and it can go on top of a bigger jar and do the same thing. But for the sake of right now, I have the smaller jar, so we're going to keep it on the smaller jar. Let's see. So right here you have, let me see if I can show you, sorry about that. Right here it has an unlock and a lock. Once you take it off, if you need to, you just put the line next to the unlock, you lock it up by turning it. Now it's locked, it's going to stay in place. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. So first I'm going to run this seal through a little bit of warm water. That way it can soften up this orange seal, and I can have a better seal when I get ready to sit this sealer on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, once you get your sealer warmed up, I just use a lot of alligator meat. All right, guys, once you get your sealer warmed up, again, I just use a little warm water. You could probably microwave this thing just a little bit, but I just use warm water because I can control it better. You want to put it right on top of the jar. Get it lined up well. I can kind of hear it sticking already. So once you get that, you get your jar sealer, you put it directly over it, and you push down. And once it's on, you know it's on. It's straight. It's on there. Again, we're gonna press our power button. For me, I like to do this. I'm sure this can seal and get all the air out in about 45 seconds, but I'm gonna leave this on for 1:30 just to make sure. Because I like being safe, and it's only 1:30 seconds. So just press the button. It starts counting down. I like to leave it erect. And after 1:30 seconds, I'll take this off and it should be sealed very well. Once it's sealed, you can grab your ring. You can put it back on if you want. Some people leave theirs off, but I mean, this came with the ring for a reason. So I just put mine on. That way I don't have rings in one place, jars in the other. I just like to have everything in unison in one spot. So far we're at 31 seconds. We're gonna let this go a little bit longer and we're gonna see how it seals. All right, just like that, it's sealed. So of course, the content is still gonna be loose because it's in a jar. It's not smushed together in a bag, but that's sealed. And you can kind of test it and try to push it up. And you can't push it up. I can't just pull it off. This thing is sealed. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on, like I said. And now it's definitely gonna hold that down. And you have a vacuum sealed jar. And you have a vacuum sealed jar.